Hello everyone, and welcome to Recap V. Today we'll be talking about a movie called Ip Man. Ip Man is a 2008 Hong Kong biographical martial arts film based on the life of Ip Man, a grand master of the martial art Wing Chun and teacher of Bruslee. The film was directed by Wilson Yip. It focuses on events in Ip Man's life that supposedly took place in the city of Foshan during the Sino-Japanese War. Watch out for spoilers and let us begin. The movie starts off by showing us Ip Man and his family having dinner. Then a man shows up, introducing himself as Liao. Liao explained that he had opened a new dojo, and said that he wanted to spar with Ip Man, since he had heard that his Wing Chun style was really good. Ip Man disagrees at first, but Liao insisted. So he agreed, after they eat some food. While they eat, the wife doesn't seem that happy for someone to disturb their peace. After they eat, they have some tea and then prepare for the match. While they do that, a boy called Yuan watches through an open window, as Ip Man manages to easily beat down the other master, winning the fight. After this, as Liao is leaving, he tries to ask Ip Man if it is possible for him to not tell anyone about today's match. But before he could finish his words, Ip Man cuts him off, saying he doesn't need to worry, and that the match is between him and Master Liao. But the scene then cuts, where we see the boy that was spying on them, telling everyone in town what he had seen. Master Liao gets word of this, and rushes to find the boy. Then we see Ip Man, with another guy, having some food and tea. The man's name is Quan, and he tells Ip Man that he wants to open a cotton factory, and asks him to be his partner. Then we see the master, he goes up to Yuan, shouting and angry at him, saying that he is spreading lies about him, while the boy says that he is telling the truth, and tells him to go and fight against Ip Man again, if he can really beat him. After this, the boy runs to Ip Man, while everyone follows. When they reach there, his brother gets angry at him, and starts to shout at him, saying that even if he saw what happened he shouldn't tell, since the other person loses face. The boy gets even angrier and asks what does that even mean. So his brother pulls his pants down, saying this is what it means, making everyone laugh. And so the boy angrily leaves. Then an officer pulls up, asking what is going on, saying that they are wasting their time with hand-to-hand combat, and pulls out a gun, saying we fight with weapons now. As he is pointing his gun at Ip Man, he grabs the gun, and disables it, shocking everyone. After this, he asks Lin, the brother of Yuan, to escort the officer outside. And everyone then leaves. Ip Man then goes inside, and turns down the offer that Quan gave him. But he also gives him a bunch of money, to help him start his factory. After this, we see a gang of men with their leader Jin Shamshao. They go to the dojo street, where Jin goes up to one of the masters teaching and challenges him to a duel. The master accepts. And then everyone around goes to see what is going on. The two men take their stands and start the fight. But the fight seemed one-sided, as Jin manages to easily take down the master. After defeating the master, he spots another one and goes after him. The other master goes to his dojo, and takes his spear, preparing for a fight, while Jin takes a sword, and then the master starts his attacks. But with no effect, as Jin manages to deflect and dodge most of them, and then takes the master down. Then, we see them fight Liao, who seems to be able to at least stand a chance against Jin, giving everyone hope. But in the end, he also gets beaten down. Now the group happily goes to eat some food, while praising themselves, saying that if they defeat all the masters here they can open their own dojo and everyone would want to go there. But as they eat, the man there tells them that they should stop praising themselves, since they still haven't beaten the best master here. Jin asks who that is. So the man tells him that is Ip Man. So the group, and what seemed like the whole city, follows them to go to Ip Man's house. When they reach there, he asks for the duel, but Ip Man refuses, and asks them to leave. But instead, they follow inside. After this, Ip Man's wife gets angry, and tells them to leave. But then Jin starts to offend Ip Man, saying he is scared, and that he won't even use one hand if they want. The wife, now pissed off, accepts. After this, some cops come in to see what is going on. And Ip Man asks the man to take the other people outside, while the officer tells Ip Man to bring back the city's reputation, and then tells everyone to leave. The two men then take their stands and start the fight. Ip Man takes to his defense while Jin tries to attack. He is unable to take a hit at Ip Man, but they do break some stuff in the house. As they fight, the boy riding his bike comes in the room and tells his father that his mother said if he doesn't attack, everything in the house will break. The boy then leaves, and the two men start their fight again. But now with Ip Man taking it more seriously and attacking. He manages to do several hits at Jin, taking him down. The others go to get him up, but he angrily pushes them back. He launches at Ip Man, pushing his sword behind him with his leg. But he is unable to hit Ip Man as he dodges every slash Jin does. Even though with a weapon in his hand, Ip Man manages to disarm him and then beat him. After this, they start to leave, while everyone outside is waiting to see who won. And they all start to cheer as soon as they see the bruises on Jin's face. After this, we see Ip Man with his family shopping, while everyone that sees them starts to follow. Everyone is happy and shouting Ip Man's name, for bringing glory back to their city. But after this the scene cuts in 1937, the time when Japan starts a war against China. And after this in 1938 the city of Foshan is seized. And the home of Ip Man is taken as headquarters, by the Japanese. Then we see Ip Man and his family had moved to another home, in which they seem to be out of food and money. Ip Man goes to get some food, and after that, he sees Kwan, who had barely managed to open his factory. He tells Ip Man that with the investment he did, he has 10% of it. But the proud man Ip Man is, he declines the 10% knowing that even with this factory, they are barely managing to make any money. So then he leaves to go home. After some day we see that his wife is sick. So he goes to find a job. He manages to find one, by a man who recognized him and picked him. There he spots the boy Lin. As they are working together, he also sees that many of the old masters are working there. So Lin explained that the boss there likes martial arts, so he usually picks masters to work there. Lin and Ip Man are then resting and eating. But Ip Man puts his food in his pocket to save it for home. Lin sees this and gives half of his potato to Ip Man. After this Ip Man asks him about his brother, but Lin says he hasn't seen him since the day with Master Liao. Then Lin sees that he has lost a box he had, and both men start to search for it. As they do that the Japanese show up. There they ask if any of the men want to go and duel against the soldiers of Japan, and if they win, they get a reward of a bag of rice. Lin volunteers, with some other man. But before he leaves, he asks Ip Man to find the box. The man is then sent to what seemed like a fighting ring, where we see Master Liao, fighting and winning against a Japanese martial artist. After winning he is rewarded with a bag of rice, and then leaves. Then the Japanese general says that he wants to spare against 3 men, and it doesn't matter if they win or lose, they'll still be rewarded a bag of rice. After this Lin and 2 other men go to fight against the general. Lin and the 2 men launch an attack, but get knocked down. The 2 men now scared stay down, but Lin goes to attack the general again. Again getting himself beaten. The 2 men see Lin bleeding so they give up the match. But after the general starts to leave, Lin goes to attack him from behind. But the general counterattacks and then puts Lin in an arm lock. After he does that, Lin spits at the general, angering him. The scene then cuts to Ip Man. As he is working he spots the box Lin had lost. And then goes to search for him. He asks some of the workers but none of them have seen him after the day he left, to the fighting matches. The Japanese come to pick some other man for the matches. Ip Man then asks Lee, the translator for the Japanese, where Lin is. But the man simply ignores him. So Ip Man says he wants to go and fight. There he sees Master Liao, who just defeated one of the Japanese, and asks to fight against 3 men. But in the end, he is unable to defeat them, and gets brutally beaten. After he goes to pick his rice he won in the first fight. We hear a shot, and then we see the bullet hitting Liao, killing him. Ip Man angrily asks Lee why they shot him. And we also see the general angry at his officer for shooting Liao. He picks his hand with the gun on it, and points it at his head, threatening him, saying he should never use a weapon in here. After this Ip Man angrily shouts at Lee saying he wants to go next. Lee is shocked at what just happened, but then asks the guard to open the door. Then Ip Man asks to fight 10 men, Lee tries to stop him, but Ip Man simply ignores him. Lee then translates, and the officer starts to laugh, while the general seems interested, and agrees for the match. 10 of the Japanese start to prepare, while Ip Man places his potato on the ground close to the bag of bloodied rice. The fight then starts, and some of the Japanese try to attack and hit Ip Man, but with no effect, as he dodges and deflects most of their attacks while counterattacking and giving them brutal hits and even breaking their bones. After brutally beating the last guy, the general comes down, while the other guards throw bags of rice for Ip Man. The general tells Ip Man to enjoy his rice, but Ip Man replies by saying he didn't come here for the rice. But Lee translated it by saying maybe next time, scared that the general might get angry at Ip Man for disrespecting him. As Ip Man starts to leave, the general calls for him and asks for his name. But Ip Man turns and says, he is simply a Chinese man. But Lee, scared for Ip Man's life, translates by telling the general his name. After this, Ip Man takes the bloodied rice and sends it to the Master Liao family. After he leaves, he goes up to Lee and smacks him, calling him a traitor. After this, we see Jin, who now leads a bandit gang, in which we also see Yuan. The group stops a truck and steals it. Then, they go to Kwan's factory, and it seems that the truck was one of theirs. The group then goes in, and asks for the boss. When Kwan reveals himself, Jin immediately kicks him, taking him down, while some other men go to get him up and hold him. Jin then says that they have stolen his goods, and want to sell them to him, and asks if he has any problems with it, but Kwan simply replies by saying he has no money, so Jin and the others start to hit him. While his boy goes to call Ip Man. But they are too late, as the group had already left, and said that they'll give them some time to make money, and then come back. Because of this, the workers there then ask Ip Man to teach them Wing Chun so they can have a chance against the gang. Ip Man agrees to this, and starts teaching them. After this, we see the general asking Lee where Ip Man is. Lee says that he doesn't know, trying to hide Ip Man. But they start to beat him after that. Then we see Ip Man playing hide and seek, with his son and some other kids. After counting to 10, when he turns, he sees Lee. Lee then explains that the general is looking for him, but Ip Man says that as long as he doesn't know where he is, they are safe. But Lee says it's too late, and then we see the officer pointing a gun at Ip Man's kid, in a playful way. Ip Man takes his son away from the officer, and then the officer spots Ip Man's wife, and as he goes to approach her, Ip Man knocks him down, along with the other soldiers there. After this, we see Lee getting beaten down by the officer, angry at him for what happened. And then when Lee goes home, we see that he is hiding Ip Man and his family there. Then Ip Man talks with his wife, saying that Kwan is trying to find a way for them to go to Hong Kong, and that he has some friends there, and might be safer. Then at the factory, the gang shows up asking for the money. But the factory workers are prepared and say they won't give them a penny, so the gang starts to attack them. The workers are able to hold them for some time, but because they have no experience in fighting, they start to lose. But as soon as that is about to happen, Ip Man shows up, beating the man down. After that, he fights against Yuan and Jin, taking them down as well. The gang then starts to flee, while Ip Man goes after Yuan. Ip Man then tries to give him his brother's box, but Yuan gets angry at the mention of his brother. But then calms down when Ip Man tells him that his brother is dead, and then gives him the box and leaves. When the boy opened it, inside was his kite, which he used to play with as a kid, and then starts to cry. After this, we see Lee running to his home, going to tell Ip Man that Jin had told the Japanese that he was at the factory, and tells him to not go back there. Then at the factory, we see the man and woman being dragged out and start getting questioned about Ip Man. They take Kwan, but he doesn't speak, so they start to beat him. Ip Man, knowing what will happen to the workers, rushes there and reveals himself. The officer starts to beat him down, and points a gun at him, trying to kill him, but the general stops him. After this, he says to Ip Man that for resisting the Japanese army he should be sentenced to death, but since he has such good skills at Kung Fu, he will allow him to live, and train their soldiers. But Ip Man doesn't agree to this. Instead, he challenges him to a fight, so the general agrees. After this we see the officer asking the general why he agreed to this, so the general says to uphold his honor and crush the Chinese spirit. Ip Man, now in prison, is threatened to be killed by the officer if he does not allow the general to win. The next morning, the fight takes place outside, where we see a crowd of people waiting for the fight to begin. The two men then take their stands and start the fight. The fight seemed equal as both men managed to dodge and deflected each other's attacks, as well as landing some strong hits at each other. But in the end, Ip Man manages to corner the general and starts to give some brutal attacks, taking him down. After this, the crowd starts to cheer, shouting his name. But as soon as that happened, we hear a gunshot and see that the officer shot Ip Man. The crowd then starts to protest, attacking the soldiers, while Lee grabs the officer's gun and points it at his head, killing him. After this we see Ip Man, who had survived, and his family being sent to Hong Kong. And that is where the movie ends. Hope you all enjoyed this video. Make sure to leave a like, comment on what you think about it, and don't forget to subscribe, so I can make more recaps of movies, TV shows, animes, etc. See you all on the next video.